Okay, it's now 8 o'clock. I will call the meeting of the Waxahachie Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Please let the record show that we have 6 trustees in attendance. Mr. Schoolfield in the hallway, and Mr. McCutcheon will be joining us at a later time. Also, let the record show that the meeting has been duly called and notice of this meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by law. First item on our agenda will be our open forum. Not have any individuals signed up to speak this morning, so we will move into item 2A, which is presentations from construction manager at Risk Firm for the 2023 WISD bond project. We have a schedule. If you'll open up your packet, it's got all the presentation material from the various contractors. There's also a schedule. And I will let Dr. Hollingsworth explain to our presenters the time constraints you guys will have. Our first presenter will be Freeman. I didn't get any of you guys' names, so
that's okay. We'll introduce ourselves.
But Dr. Hollingsworth will explain to you what the time limit will be.
Thank you, President Autry, and I want to just kind of let y'all know, and this was reflected in the email we sent y'all. I'm going to time you and let you know when you're at 13 minutes, and then after that, we'll switch into Q&A mode for the trustees. And so y'all have 13 minutes, then we've got 12 minutes set aside for trustees to ask questions that they may have. And then, so we'll have 25 minutes total. All right? Okay. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Okay. I'm Mike Freeman. I'm president of Still & Freeman. This is a little different than normal presentations. We rarely get to speak to the board, so I appreciate the opportunity. We're excited about this project. I'm going to go super fast because 13 minutes, I've got a lot to talk about our company. Normally we do it different and split it up into individuals, but today I just brought kind of a sample because there's a group of projects out there that are still yet to be defined. But I'm president of Still & Freeman. Jared, when we had our interview at 10:30, it worked, but he had to take his wife to the doctor's appointment this morning. We have Sam, who's one of our senior superintendents, and then James Hinton is one of our estimators, so we kind of facilitate questions, but I'll go, just for the sake of time, I'll go through the presentation real quick. A little bit about Still & Freeman. We're all about our culture, and we all want to march to the same beat. We have 23 fundamentals which guide the DNA of our company, guide the day-to-day operations. More than just filling up a logo on the wall. We practice these. Each week we pick a fundamental and we go through it, and it's more than just our team. For every meeting we do, whether it's with the owner, the architect, or even subcontractors, we pick that fundamental. We go through examples, we study it. Now this week it happens to be fundamental number 1. It's on rotation, so sacrifice everything for safety. There's a reason why it's number 1. We want to be involved in the project. We know this area very well. The next slide will show you the areas that we're working around here. But we want to promote your project. It needs to be positive for the community. This is taxpayer dollars. Kids, it's not hard to get excited about facilities that you're going to create. But we want to promote it by having hard hat tours, ribbon cuttings, using the kids when we can for ribbon cuttings or dedications, and really make a positive experience. And we'll do monthly reports to the board if that's what you want to hear, just to give updates. Some of the local experience, we are currently working in the city of Waxahachie, so we know these people very, very well as far as down at the city. And then we're working in Mansfield and Arlington. We're also working in Ennis and then Midlothian as well. So we've been working in this area for quite some time, so we know the subcontractors and we know the city officials, so I think it's important. Your projects, I think you know the ones that you have coming up, and it was kind of fluid at first, but it's kind of settled for the election now. So we want to kind of give some quick examples of, it's hard to drill on one particular project because I don't know what you're looking for today, so we're trying to touch all of them. So some examples would be, this is our current elementary school that we have, giving you an idea of square footage. The way that we tackled this project, we had an early package for MEP, because right now switchgear could be 16 months out. It's kind of hard to build a building in 12, 14 months if you can't get electrical, so we have to get ahead on some mechanical equipment, electrical equipment, so we did that on that project. June Davis was a project for Crowley ISD. We've been, I guess, their contractor of choice for probably 5 years now, so we're just continuing doing work for them. And I think if you look at our resume, you'll see that all of our work is either repeat clients or repeat architects, so we pride ourselves on getting that first job and then being that partner for life. The Clarendon School is a recent, this is a this recent award winner, a small addition renovation that has storm shelter component. Whitley Road is one of Sam's projects that's where he's working on now with Whitley Road, and you can see the stage B is kind of wrapping up. It's kind of, Sam, you want to talk about some of these projects?
The Whitley Road and Parkview was they were both replacement schools where we came in and built schools right next to an occupied building. And once we got those schools up, we could move the kids into there and phase the projects into second and third phases if need be. Sometimes we left existing components, gymnasiums in place or classroom additions in place, but we've done the whole thing over the last couple of years with zero time loss and zero injuries to students or nothing in the press. So
working in a green field with no students is great. Working around students is a whole different level of expertise. This Ridge Middle, this is an example of a project. We did this project in really about 11 months. I wouldn't tackle that now. It was a different time, a different schedule, different way of approaching things. A little harder with supply chain issues to move that fast now. Argyle High School was another one of Sam's projects, and we actually converted this project from a middle school to a high school, similar to what you have in your bond programs as far as renovation. But we touched almost every corner of that building, probably 7 additions all around while school was occupied the entire time, plus it had the storm shelter component and performing arts and athletics, so it was a challenging project. It's actually one of the same projects as well. Building back to CTE, this is building Valley, unbelievable building. We actually installed an airplane inside the building, hanging from the roof in there, so there's a lot of neat components when it comes to a CTE building. You're doing all the different programs, so we have many buildings within buildings. KCAL same type project. This is a project that we actually built, and then we re-roofed, and then we added on to here, and added on to there, and then we gutted it and repurposed it from an intermediate school to a CTE building.
it had an ambulance on the second floor.
Northside High School, we picked this one kind of incredibly difficult, old historic building where we had to take basically 4 classrooms at a time and leapfrog. Finish that, moved in that, finish that. So it's a 3-year project. Not the most cost effective, but they didn't have any room to do any temporary buildings or move kids, so we just had to work where we could. Southwest Festival, a lot of the same here. We built the new building here first, just so the kids could move in there, just so go in there and start gutting and renovating their existing building. And then you have athletics projects. I think the last one that we did was Crowley Sports Complex. If you get down 35, you can see it off to the west there. And with pre-con, James usually handles this, but in spirit of time, I'll go fast. We want to get early. I applaud you guys for getting to the contractor early because costs are out of control right now. They seem somewhat stabilized so we can predict, but it's important to get the contractor in there early and continually operating budgets and working with the architects. We're going to show you estimates from napkin sketches, and then as the project develops, we'll update that schedule, and we'll compare that last estimate against the first estimate to see where things are moving, what changes we've made, what flexibility the architects work with us. And ultimately, when the projects get completed and near completion, we'll put it out to bid. This is probably the strongest asset that Scale and Freeman has. It's just, we've been doing this since 1979. We do over $200 million a year. We have over $2 billion worth of CM at risk construction. So we feel like we're the major player. We have that relationship with the subcontractor vendors. We out of time?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
So we have our own bid for the contractors. We want to strongly and support and promote your project, because any sub will have 20 projects to bid that particular day. But we want them to bid lots of active projects, because that's where the value is. You're paying the CM a small fee to manage the project. The true value is getting those competitive bidders in there. We may not use the low bid when we take bids, because I think it's important for us to defend why we're not using them. You know, if it's a contractor that's never done a project over $100,000, we really want to experiment with them on a $2 million contract. So it's one of those give and take from the district, and we're totally open book. We want y'all to be involved in the process as much as you want to be. Everybody knows you can go to Home Depot and you can understand the current construction market. We've done something a little bit different. I mentioned that we go out there and do early packages. I think that's necessary, some things in this market, which is unusual because generators, you know, mechanical equipment, electrical gear, especially, even fixtures. The last 2 projects we've done, in fact, we just did it in Midlothian. was to get those items out months ahead, the plans were even complete, and then we designed to that, just so we had that material. We also have a warehouse and a shop that we gutted 2 years ago when this all started. We gutted it, emptied it, put storage shelves, we have our forklift, we got outside yard storage. We no longer say, hey, we're gonna need this in October, we're gonna ship it today. We'll store it so that we have it on site when it's time to work. So you just have to be a little more aggressive and work a little harder. And then with any project, even if we're under budget, we still want to come back with a shopping list of ideas. Because the tradesmen that are doing the work may say, hey, I've got this other tile that's exactly like this, different manufacturer, and you can save 20 grand. We want to throw that out there and let the design professionals and the owner, more importantly, decide if that's value. So every decision we're changing to the project is going to be value-based decision, not just we think this is better. And at the end, we sit down and we go through our bid tab, and we do it from soup to nuts. We show every single expense that we have. There's a 20-page list document, and we want you to be fully understanding what we have. And so a lot of times jump out and say, well, the architect says, I really didn't intend it to be like that. So, well, your drawings show it like that, so we can use that opportunity to make corrections and massage it back to where it needs to be. And as we move into construction, Sam's photo opportunity. But everything starts with safety. As I mentioned, that's our number one fundamental. We have this board in our office to remind us this is our families. We want to keep our families safe, our construction workers safe. We want to keep the staff and the students safe. Everyone on our projects you'll see with safety vests, hard hats, and safety glasses and badged, so they're completely separate.
That's 10 minutes, Mr. Freeman, so you got 3 minutes?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There's no way I'm going to get through with it all,
Yes,
but I
sir.
just left it for material to look at. Within our quality management program, the biggest thing here is we want to excavate buyout. We put pressures on our PM staff to buy out a project in 30 days because costs are moving. So we got to be aggressive in locking in those prices and getting all the submittals done. We want to get the submittals done in 90 days. Architects don't like it. It puts a lot of pressures on the architects to turn things around, but it puts the paperwork behind us and we focus on construction and building it right the first time. Oh, and this is some pretty cool little we document the cameras now, but the 360 camera that goes on the top of your hard hat looks kind of goofy. Some of the guys don't like it, but you can go back in 10 years from now and you can see what was in that wall as they walk through the building, and then you got active painting and constant. It's just the perfect as-built. Scheduling is probably the most important thing we do. It's not just a piece of paper. It's essentially on every trailer in a certain manner, and we update it continuously as a living document. Technology and modeling, we do BIM modeling, and we actually design the building before it's built so we can do clash detection, find the things that are wrong. We've got some great examples for that, just don't have time. We use drone in every project, and it's more just pretty pictures. We can go in and shoot topos, and we can see how big's that pile of dirt, or why is there a bird bath in this particular parking lot. And so we utilize a lot of technology in that. And then accounting, this is really what I do. I can spend 20 minutes talking on it. We believe this is your money. We're only custodians for a short period of time, and we need to spend it wisely. So every contract that goes out to subcontractors comes across my desk for approval. Every change order comes across my desk. Every check that goes out is still physically signed by me. And my job is to ask our team, why are we spending the owner's money this way? Is there a better, smarter way that we can do it? But more importantly, we track it in such a manner. We got another column that's really just a contingency column, because we're going to leave things out. Maybe we left out the flasher, maybe we doubled up between two trays. So it's going to be a savings or a loss, and it's continually moving in and out. And you have complete documentation so that there's no audit at the end of the job. You're auditing on a real-time basis as you go through it. And last is completing the project. It's more than just the one-year traditional walkthrough. We have Darren, whose sole purpose in our company is to maintain the clients after the sale. So he's not just waiting for that 12 months. He's charged with going out and meeting with that facility guy on every project, every quarter, every 3, 6, 9, just to ask, hey, is there something that's not working? Is there something we can take care of so that it's not an issue when you come to the 12 months? Because we don't want to do just this bond program. We want to do every project that WISD does from this day forward.
All right, and that is your time, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, board, we set aside several minutes for any questions that we might have for these guys. No particular order, if anyone wants to go first.
I mean, I can personally vouch for this company. They're quite capable, obviously. You don't have to go very far to look at the product. I'm in the City Hall Annex and right in Debbie's backyard with Fire Station number 4. And I was part of the process with the fire station, and it was over budget, but it was at a different time. It was 2 years ago when things were really crazy. I mean, I don't know how you bid back then, but hopefully it's gotten better since then.
It kind of snuck up on everybody, because you think by the time you do a bond program, and then it gets approved, and then it gets designed, it may be 2-year-old money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that particular snapshot in time, the cost just went crazy in that short of a time. So you're trying to build that same 70,000 square foot building, but you really only have the budget for 40,000 square foot now, so you really have to work hard. So I think it has stabilized somewhat. There's still some unknowns. We're still being surprised by electrical and even glass. It seems like there's a shifting target now. Some items you just can't get. You may not have a walkway canopy when you open the school, but it's coming. It's just the market right now. It's like I've never seen.
So that would be my concern, is trying to pinpoint and stay on track as far as the budget, how difficult that may be. I mean, it's going to be extremely difficult with this many projects, but we do have to zero in probably more than ever.
Yeah. It's important to get early, so you know how.
If you were awarded all of these projects, do you anticipate any bonding capacity issues?
Oh, not at all. No. We can handle all the projects, and we can just do one project. We want to do them all, but we want to do what's best for you.
How many projects do y'all have going right now?
I think we have 23 active projects going, but it may be something that's in punch list or just getting started out of the ground. Then we have 12 projects in pre-con. So it's about normal. We're no more busier than we have been in the past. So as long as you don't watch the news, the market in this area is still really, really strong. That's just costs are up and labor is really short, so it takes a little longer. So I think financially we're still doing just as well as we always have, and we're not overloaded. So this is a perfect opportunity to kind of reload our bucket.
Of those 23 projects, approximately how many of them are school projects versus other?
I'd probably say 80% of them are schools. And schools can vary in what you're talking about. It could be indoor practice facilities, it could be stadiums, it could be administration buildings.
Do you work statewide then? Did I see?
Really, we kind of work in this area.
Just mainly in this area?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
This is the only office we have is on the north side of Fort Worth.
Okay, okay.
But we have our southeast office right now with projects in Midlothian, Mansfield, Ennis, Waxahachie. So we're here, so we kind of have a southeastern hub, I should say.
I may have a little bit of an unorthodox question. Would there be any opposition of allowing our construction science or CTE classes to come and work your job site?
We were encouraging, yeah. I led the whole council for Fort Worth ISD for years, trying to get schools and careers to work into that program. And we're involved with Tarleton and A&M, so we believe in teaching these kids. There's certain rules about working on active construction site, but we will make them part of the team.
There's actually a public event Saturday morning at 9 at Fire Station number 4. If anybody wants to go, it's open to the public to see the fire station, see their product, not specifically to see what their product is. It's more of a ceremony for the fire department, but at the same time, you can see, actually tour the fire station and see what the product looks like.
What do you think puts you above everyone else that we're going to talk to?
It's really our culture. I think if you talk to any of our employees, or even the subcontractors that work for us, they want to work for us. We want them to choose to work for us versus our competition, which benefits our clients, and it's also benefits. We want them to make money. We want them to make a reasonable profit. It's also public funds. We want it to be very reasonable. And we want to perform and be successful because it makes us successful, it makes architects successful, it makes the school board look good too. So I think it's our culture of having everybody marked to the same beat and being held responsible for our actions. So we have 23 fundamentals and we touch them each week. We check our owners, architects, subcontractors, anybody that comes, to call us out if we're not doing what's best for the owner or being relentless in improvement. I think it's all goes down to how we act as a unit and how we want to perform with that goal of doing every project that you guys have put forward. We're not the one-off contractor taking money and time. We want the relationship.
Given supply chain issues, labor shortages, and our very tight schedule, do you think we have a doable schedule?
I don't know a whole lot about your schedules, honestly. I couldn't find them published anywhere or when projects would start, but where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, it just means we may have to be a little more aggressive, think outside the box. We've done phasing all the way down from earthwork packages to structural packages to MEP packages to finish-up packages to landscape packages, just so we can get construction going with architecture drawing and plans. So anything we can get going and move forward is going to be better for the project. But we can make anything happen. It's just how flexible, and we certainly want to stay out of the way of the education on the site. So we can't always just make noise. We may have to schedule that accordingly with each particular scenario. Everything's going to be different. So the renovation projects are always more challenging because you don't always have this flex space to move around. But new construction, we know how long that takes. And we just may have to start earlier than traditional.
Anyone else? No?
So we'll tell you that we do have that online. I can show you where that is as far as, and our best case scenario is an August 24 opening of 2 elementary schools in additions to a junior high. So that would be hitting the ground running as early in May as possible so that gives you about a time frame about 16 months.
It can be done if the architects can keep up.
Yeah.
I know we can do it.
Yeah.
We're aggressive. It may be that type of schedule. You may, I don't know if you have a prototype elementary school or something that you can apply. It's going to be a lot of pressure on them to design it. And even if they're designing it, we're finding that the civil engineer is having a hard time because that's what we need first, keeping up. So it's going to be a process of hitting the ground running. And I think it's our job to point out the problems. Hey, if we don't do this right now, then we're not going to be ready for the kids in August. And our job is to speak up, not to
Yes,
tell
sir.
you, hey, this isn't going to work. Let's speak up and come up with solutions to make it happen.
Yes, sir. We're at 21 minutes, so we still got 4 minutes, sir.
Anyone else?
Since you do have some time left and you had to go so fast, is there anything else that you want us to know that you didn't get a chance to hit on?
No, see, I'd love to talk about cost control. I can talk about that for 15 minutes. Sam will talk about safety for 30 minutes. A couple of hot buttons. I mean, we feel like cost control is important because we are stewards of taxpayers' money. And I take it personally because that's what I do every day. I'm in charge of the budgets, overseeing, so everything comes to me for approval. Because I think I'm not micromanaging, but I've got an opportunity to inject, hey, is there a better way? Do we really need to spend this? Let's sit down and talk about it, come up with alternative solutions. And of course, safety is a focus on everything. Full-time safety guy that's responsible for keeping us safe. And Sam's a great example of the superintendents and their spirit of, we'll sacrifice everything for safety. If it means we have to shut down the job site to do this as an issue, we'll do it. And I think that's important, especially with the amount of occupied campuses that you guys have. I mean, we want to stay on the news as much as you do.
Any questions you have for us?
No, I'm excited. Good luck to you guys. I know you still got May to make it work, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anything we can do, certainly let us know. We have people around here and we'll certainly say vote yes, but anything we can do to help promote, we certainly will, because we want to see Waxahachie grow.
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm gonna go breathe now. We can leave this thumb drive if you need it.
Okay.
Hard copies.
Thank you. We'll leave it with Mr. Paul. That'd be great.
Oh, it's- Oh, well, much appreciated.
We did build in a little break time.
9.9, I'm sure she did get it.
We built in some break time.
That was great.
I'm about 99. Okay, our next contractor is, Buford Thompson. Mr. Martin, what's your name?
Yes, sir.
All right, I recognize your name from the picture here, so. Dr. Hollingsworth will explain to you, your time slots and whatnot, and how we'll move forward.
Okay.
Good morning, Sammy. Glad you're here. What we will do is I'll let you know, you've got 13 minutes to present. I'll let you know when we're at 10 minutes so you can plan. And then we've set aside 12 minutes for the board to ask any questions that they may have, and I'll kind of keep us on time. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you, sir. Go ahead, you're good.
All right. We're happy to be here this morning. We've worked in Waxahachie before. I hope some of you people remember me from the past, and we'll kind of go over that in a minute. So I got a little agenda put together. We'll touch on those things. And if I get to talking fast, it's because I'm trying to get out, I get a little nervous, I'm trying to get through it, so here we go. My name's Sammy Martin, I'm the owner, and then I'll let these people introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Shauna Hudak, I'm the marketing director. I support Teresa with community engagement.
Scott Barnes, Vice President of Operations.
Teresa Shirtliff, senior vice president.
Brian Rhodes, Chief Estimator.
Derek Hirschberger, Project Manager.
Ricky Davis, Construction Superintendent. Jason Germany, Project Superintendent.
Adam Sherliff, Safety Director.
We have a lot of resources, guys. I didn't bring everybody that's involved, but I brought several of them, so. Been in business 43 years, guys. Got 2 office locations, one in Fort Worth, one in El Paso. Built over 400 schools in North Texas. Over $2 billion. What sets us apart, guys, we only build K through 12 schools. We don't build anything else. I don't touch anything but K through 12 schools. I'll let Scott talk briefly about this project we did in Waxahachie.
I don't think I've got to tell you guys much. You guys know Max Simpson. It was a great build for us. Everything went pretty darn smooth. There was a couple of specialty things that we had to deal with, developers, not having roads to the building. We had a lot of coordination that we had to do, and we're happy to do it again.
Thanks, Scott. After we finished, a couple years later, you had an electrical problem out there. We went out there and surveyed it, replaced it, took care of it. I was after 2 years or so. I don't remember all the details. Florence and Heritage Elementary. What sets these apart, and I'll let Scott talk about it briefly, is we finished, our goal is to finish on time, guys. No matter what it takes, we're gonna finish on time. That's how you stay in the school building business for 40 years, you finish on time. Those 2 were similar, exactly the same projects, and we had exactly the same subs on them, which made it difficult. We won't ever do that again. We'll switch them up, so. Scott, you want to add anything to that?
They were simultaneous, they were tough. We brought everybody from BTC there at the end, the last about 4 weeks of the job. We had all hands on deck. We had estimators. We had folks from our office out there doing whatever we had to do to get the school open.
Guys, I was out there driving tractors to finish. We're going to finish. I'll let Brian speak briefly about our estimating and how we do it, how we get,
So our pre-construction process is really a tag team effort between our estimating group and our operations group. Scott's going to touch on the operations piece, but our estimator's sole responsibility throughout that design development process is to work hand in hand with the design team and the district in figuring out exactly what your final design is going to be. Whether that's maybe 1 preliminary estimate and then bidding the job, or in some cases 4 preliminary estimates going all the way from SD to the GMP. And we think we bring a couple of resources to the table that maybe some of our peers don't during that process. The biggest of which is our relationship with the trade contractors. To us, they're trade partners. They're not simply subcontractors. We treat them as a partner. It takes a lot of entities to build a project, and they're no less important than we are. We've been fortunate to work all across the state. Like Sammy said, in every major market, we've got a very loyal group of contractors who seek out work whenever we're local, and will also travel with us across the state. It's not uncommon to see East Texas folks working in West Texas, DFW, and El Paso, and vice versa. And we think that's a testament to the relationship that we have with them. We think we have that relationship because of the way we treat them. We're easy to work for, we're reliable, we're dependable, we're predictable. And whenever you have a client who's easy to work for, reliable, you know you're going to get paid on time, you know you're going to get treated well, you know you're going to get treated like a team member, there's not going to be any surprises, you're willing to maybe pay a better price for that. So we think that we can bring some, we get a little bit of preferential pricing in some of our projects that ultimately delivers a better value to the district. And so I'll let Scott kind of touch on the operations piece.
So on the operations side, there's a habit in the industry that is the operations folks don't get involved until the thing's bid, goes to the board, becomes approved, now it's a real construction project. And we're trying to break that. So to get Ben and Ricky and Derek and Adam and myself and some others involved early on, we need to build a schedule. We need to identify phasing. Of course, if we're building a school out in the middle of a pasture, there's certain things that apply. Of course, if we're building additions onto an existing campus, it's a whole ballgame, and we need to identify those type of construction constraints. We know good and well we cannot switch over the power until spring break or Christmas break, and let's identify those things so we can have them all planned and strategized properly. And getting involved early on will help us identify all those things so it runs as smoothly as possible.
Thank you, Scott. This is Brian, this is, we had a project that was severely over budget, and this is, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, the unfortunate reality of the last 3 years is that pricing volatility is absolutely insane. Prices that were set 3 months ago are no longer good today. This is probably the starkest example of that. This is a project that we're going. It's just a small addition and renovation project, $12 million. We got brought in real early, seeing the risk, and identified that it was going to be, at the current design was $21.6 million. Fortunately, we were early enough to work with the design team to figure out what changes can be made, right? So it's not, this one wasn't just switch this product out for this one. This one was whole hog design changes while still trying to maintain the promises that the district had made to the voters in that bond program. So we were able to work with the design team, figure out what's the least invasive change that we can make that would yield the greatest cost savings. We were able to bring it all the way back to 12.9 at the next design iteration, and we have since whittled that down through the design process. One of the examples, just to give you an example of how we did that, we had a gym expansion, 2 adjacent gyms, identical gyms we were going to expand on the west gym. Working with our trade partners, another benefit of the relationship that we have, we were able to figure out that if we just expanded the east gym, it would save money. Same expansion on the east gym, and that was just a result of some of the site elements that were right there around that gymnasium and some of the mechanical systems that passed through. So this is just one example of some of the abilities that we've been forced to gain over the last 3 years that we think ultimately will allow you to take every dollar that you have and stretch it as far as possible.
Thank you, Brian. I'm gonna let our safety guy talk briefly.
All right, so on these, you've got our site safety specific manual. That's going to be something which we'll design and tailor for each project that we have. We'll have a site map. We'll also have the school calendar in case we're on an occupied campus. So in case we have any type of school events that are going on, testing, things like that, we're made well aware of it ahead of time so we don't disrupt any school activities. Additionally, on an occupied site protocol, we want to work with the school staff if we do have an occupied site. We want to make sure that we don't have any type of disruption. We make sure all the traffic flows, the student walk patterns, the bus drop-off zones, all that stuff is not disrupted in any type of manner, and we can still construct the job effectively. Additionally, background checks and badges, every one of our subcontractors will be required to go through that. They'll be badged 100% on our projects. Alice training, this is something in which we kind of got a little bit more of a forethought, I think more so than any other GC, because we're specifically K through 12 builders. This is active shooter training, and unfortunately in today's world, we have to have that, or at least school districts are having to really address that issue. We've gone ahead and addressed it with our guys too, so we have a form of training, we have an understanding and knowledge base to be able to keep ourselves separated from the emergency services and the response teams, so we're not going to be impacting that in any type of manner. And then our safety meetings is just basically a way to deliver information out to the rest of the trades. Make sure they have an understanding of anything that may change.
Thank you, Adam. Adam reports to me. I'm responsible for the safety. He don't have to go through all these other guys. He reports directly to me. We meet once a month and go over every job. Adam, you want to talk a little bit about the site camera? We've got some new technology.
Yes, sir. So on our site camera, what we will provide These are really good for kind of a brand new build up. We'll have a site camera that can be continuous that we can provide to the school district. You can have it on your web page, you can have it on your bonding page, you can have it on a Facebook page, however you want to have it. And anybody from the community can go on there at any time and see the progress of that job. They can watch it as it goes all the way from at the very end. We can give you kind of a comprehensive a show timeline to see how the building went from the beginning all the way to the end. Additionally, on drone shots, we give you a different perspective in which we provide to the board at board meetings. If you so ask us to be here every month, we'll provide different elevations and different views from each project. That's going to be on the picture down in the bottom left. And then open space. Open space is going to be something which we just recently started doing. It's basically where we have a camera on a helmet. We walk around and we get the map or the floor plan. We put that on the program, and we walk it exactly how that floor plan will be. We can go in and we'd be able to show the open walls. We'd be able to see piping in the walls, see blocking in the walls, make sure everything's in there. It's a good way to do quality control as well as produce a photo evidence of as-built as we continue to go through the actual project. And then I believe, Scott, you want to discuss on the
10 minutes right now.
10 minutes?
10 minutes right now. So.
Thank you. We like that camera deal, because that way we can go back and see after the fact, do we have the rebar in the beam? Is it the right size? Do we have this in the wall? Do we have this? After it's all covered up. So we're very prudent to use that. Talk a little bit about stewardship of assets. Your number one asset is your students, then your staff, and then your community, and your money. We're going to take care of all four. I'm very big on taking care of people, and we watch the students and the staff very carefully. We don't intermingle with them. We don't talk to them. They're the number one. The other thing, the cohesive team. You know, our team is very cohesive. We're like one big family. But you're on the team, and the design consultants are on the team. We work well with them. I mean, we know the game, and we know how to, you know, we're just trying to be very team-oriented and be a good partner to you guys. So with that being said,
We get to do the fun stuff. So it's almost over. So as your construction management partner, we want to help you celebrate the milestones of your project. We want to help create events where your community can come in and help celebrate with you. Whether that's a groundbreaking, a topping out, or a ribbon cutting event, we at BTC want to offer our support marketing, communications, event planning, whatever that may be to help engage your community, because it's going to be an exciting time for everybody, and we really want to help make it a memorable experience. I'll let Ms. Teresa talk about the experience.
Yes, so the experience really starts today with you guys as our client, hopefully as our client, I should say. It starts with this interview, goes to the estimating, goes to the building, and then on to the milestones of doing the groundbreaking, doing the ribbon cutting, and then we do a topping out. So I'm going to just have a short video here. This is the very end, so we'll just to show you the experience. This is our topping out, and when the kids went up there at the elementary school, it was just really exciting. They put their thumbprints on it, and then they watched the video. That's Scott at a classroom going in and teaching the kids what goes on with the building. And we finish strong.
all right, one last thing, if we got a minute.
You got 15 seconds?
Look, guys, I don't have a college degree. I grew up sweeping floors as a carpenter. I got all these other technology people, but I know how to build a building. I'm gonna be on your job once every 2 weeks and walk it myself and look at it. So that's how important it is to me. Thank you.
You want to go first?
If we don't know the answer, we'll tell you we don't know.
Can you repeat again? You said how many schools you build and area, what areas do you cover? Or is it mostly North Texas or just all?
I've done a lot of schools in North Texas. I remember Mr. Hollingsworth years ago at South Lake Building School.
Oh, okay.
I work all the way from Texarkana. I have an office in El Paso, Texas. I do a lot of work out in the oil patch, Pecos, Rankin, Fort Stockton, basically all over the state. I have a job down in Hitchcock down on the coast.
Okay.
did a big job at Port Lavaca 2 or 3 years ago, so we kind of go, we've built so many schools, we know people everywhere, and we know the guy will go. Thank you.
Would you anticipate any bonding capacity issues with a project this size?
No, sir. I can bond 400 million at one time. And I don't know anybody in.
So my question is, we're on a pretty strict timeline. Have you seen our timeline? And if you have, do you think it's achievable? I know you addressed part of that in your presentation, but
We always somehow manage to get it finished on time, or get you in when you need to get in. It's gonna be stressful, guys, no doubt about it. Here's the problem, material suppliers are not any good anymore. The subcontractors can't get the people like they used to could. It just creates hardship for everyone. Switchgear is 57 weeks out. If I ordered today, it's a year and 5 weeks away to get it. So, if we can get the material, yes, we can do it. I do have concerns over some of the material.
Sammy, if I may,
Yes.
one of the things that we've been doing to help alleviate those long lead items is we've been, if getting involved early enough, we're able to do some early bid packages, rooftop units, roofing insulation is not as bad anymore, kitchen equipment, and now, like you said, electrical switchgear is so far out that we're able to identify what's early out, what's going to be, it's going to take too long. We're able to bid those out early, procure that, so that by the time it's ready to be installed, it's already on the job site. So that's one of the examples of it.
That's the best way to do it if you can.
That first stage for us, we're hoping by August of '24 for 2 elementaries and additions to one of our junior highs. And that first stage is really our biggest time push. And then the others, we're not on as big of a crunch, but that's to get that relief with Waxahachie High School.
I understand the elementary schools, they're pretty clean. We've probably done $1 billion worth of work for BLK, so we're pretty familiar with their
We built
design.
those buildings twice.
Huh?
We built those buildings twice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that'd make it a little easier on us.
Yes.
those exact buildings?
Yes, sir. That was my first project.
All I can tell you is we'll get you in school
Yes, sir.
unless something happens, major happens. We have the resources, I have the people that do it, I've got the team to do it. I don't go take on more work than what I can do. I'm not sending a new superintendent and a new project manager down to Waxahachie, Texas to do this. If I didn't have the people to do it, I wouldn't have been here today.
So that's gonna kind of lead me into my next question. The first time this process was posted, you guys did not submit.
Yes, sir.
What made you decide to submit this time?
Some things changed. I didn't get some other projects, and I didn't have enough people at the time. I wasn't gonna come down here and lie to you and tell you I had the people to build your building when I fixed to have to go out here and find them. I just felt like I couldn't give you the quality and the service you deserve if I didn't have the right people. That's why I didn't turn in.
What do you feel puts you above everyone else we're gonna talk to?
I'm gonna tell you exactly what it does, what sets us apart. We support, upper management supports our people, our superintendents, the people in the field. We go out, I go out and walk those jobs myself. I'm not there to look over their shoulder, I'm there to help them and support them. We have a very cohesive family. I got a project manager and assistant project manager. They come to my office, study. I'm not one of those guys that sit behind the desk. We're just very supportive of all our people. If there's a problem, instead of having the project manager working on it, you got Scott working on it, you got Mr. Crampton working on it, you got me working on it. I think that's what sets us apart. It's the people and how supportive we are. And you find very few people like me in my role that actually knows how to build a building. Most of those guys came from project management, or came from estimating, or went to college and got a degree in business and construction management. I got my degree out there with a building hammer. That's what sets us apart.
Anyone else? All I'm gonna end with this question.
Yes, sir.
Any issues of our CTE construction science students participating in this project as far as walking through with your superintendents and just doing site visits, things like that?
What we do is, we encourage people. What you need to do is notify the superintendent, or safety guy will be there. Mr. Barnes does a thing with the CTE. He'll take some plans in and show them when we start into the classroom, and then tour them every 3 or 4 months through the building where they can actually see it in place, see what we're doing. And we started that 4 or 5 years, 6, 7 years ago down in Granbury, Texas. But we do it because we'd like for those kids to get in construction, to give them at least a window of this is what it's like to be in the construction business. They see the guys building it, they see the drywallers, they see the plumbers, and then they can look at the drawings. And Scott is very, very good with that. We have a slide that shows that, but we took it out because it made it too long.
Okay.
Yes, we're very big on it.
Okay. Anyone else?
What about the building of Simpson? What did you think about how that went?
Very smooth.
It went good. You know, you had no site utilities when we started.
Right.
Now we put the streets in. I mean, it was a challenge, to say the least. I think Mr. Schofield it went and looked at one of our projects and talked to some people, and I think we delivered just like we told you guys. We're gonna give you 110%.
Well,
If I'd have known Mr. Holland first wearing blue jeans, and young, that's what I'd have worn. I'm more comfortable in blue jeans,
I
guys.
understand.
But we'd like to build your building. We'll give you the best we got.
We
If
still
I
have 4 minutes if y'all have any more questions.
tell you we're gonna do something, guys, we're gonna do it.
Is there anything you didn't have time to tell us that you'd like to hit on, or maybe one of your people?
Well, the people that work for us have been with us a long, long time. And there's a reason for that. We take care of our people, and it's like one big family. Tricia knows everybody's birthday, she has it on her calendar. We try to be inclusive with all of our people, where those guys don't have a problem coming talking to me. I think our business, to be as large as it is, it's the most family oriented that you'll ever find. We take care of our people, and that's why we have good people. I've got a guy with me, turned 82 today, he's superintendent, he's still working up at Keller. 82 years old. These guys have been with me a long, long time, most of them. I try to get them, how we try to do our business makes it different. I try to get them out of college or get them young and start training them from the ground up, putting them in the field as an assistant superintendent or assistant project manager. And we try to raise them within. That way they know our culture, they know our system. You go hire somebody out here new, an older guy, most people, they're hard to change when they get older. I mean, they pretty much set in their ways. So I think that's one of the things that sets us apart. Tricia, would you like to add to that?
No, I think that's what it is. It's our people, and I don't think that there's anything else that we could cover for you guys. We were just really excited that we did Max Simpson for you and the Wyman building, and we would love to be back here again.
Is there anything you want to ask us?
No, sir, I know Mr. Craig. We had a really good experience with Michael Craig. Really good experience. He became a friend of ours, and no, sir, I just, y'all have been good to work for ever since the first time we worked on the Wyman building. We did the first one, and we came back and did another one at the Wyman building. Then we did the Max Simpson. You guys have been very good to us to work for. I don't say that about everybody. I've gotten old enough, guys. I've gotten old enough, I'm not gonna work anywhere I don't want to.
You sound like me.
You know, I'm 70 years old. So, I was in an interview in Abilene, and the guy said, "What's gonna happen when you die? What if you ain't here?" I said, "Well, this is a true fact." He was an attorney.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the 1st of January, I signed the papers over, Mr. Trammell and Teresa's gonna buy me out over a period of time. And it's set up where if something happened to me, there's enough insurance there that they could finish all the projects and, you know, pay my stuff. So, we try to think of everything.
You got a
know?
plan.
Pardon?
You got a plan, Sam.
I just hope I live long, I'm gonna aggravate them as long as I live. They ain't gonna run me out of that. There's one clause in the whole deal, I'll always be the boss, even if I only own 1% of it.
Anyway,
Guys, I hope
thank you
we
guys
answered
for
your
your
questions.
time.
Uh,
Yes.
Thank
We
y'all.
were really excited to be here. I don't know what kind of shot we had, but we gave you guys our best shot.
Appreciate it.
And you can check our track record. Mr. Riegel, I remember you. You don't remember me, do you?
I do, I do.
If my hair got a lot grayer and I got fatter, but still fit.
I'm just saying, think about that.
Good to see you, young man. Thank you. Thank you,
Sir, appreciate it.
Ladies?
It's so good to see you. Thank you.
You guys ready? Okay, our next presentation will be Built Right. Ready? Yes, sir. So Dr. Hollingsworth will explain to you your time limits and exactly how that will flow. Okay?
I appreciate y'all so much being here. What we'll do is y'all will have 13 minutes to present. I'll let you know when you're at the 10-minute mark, and then we'll have 12 minutes set aside for the trustees to ask y'all questions.
Yes, sir.
You're good to go.
I'm Jason Crutcher, the operations director and owner of BMC Education Group. So thank you for having us. I've been watching this district for over 15 years. Started back when I was working for David Averett before he was Dr. Averett at Ennis, did the junior high and the high school out on 287 in Fulton. Then watched Gallagher do Lumpkin Stadium, watched Gallagher do a high school for you, watched Skanska build a couple of these projects. So you've been on my map for a long time. I'm a Navarro County resident, don't hold it against me, live in Corsicana. We're based out of Waco, but geography-wise, this is a very good location. In fact, it lends itself to a subbase that, let's say, Salina or Denton ISD, the bigger districts up north, don't. The workforce of the Metroplex lives to the south side of Dallas. In fact, Leland Collier, one of the largest K-12 electrical companies, half of their company lives just north of Ennis. So this is a really good location for subs, and that's important in K-12 construction. If you'll flip me, Anthony. When we talk about Project Team, you have a very large program that you're looking at. And so it doesn't have names, but this is how we structure, because we're not quite sure the intention of the district, whether you'll award multiple. In this market, we're seeing that most districts of bond packages this big are awarding multiples, like Denton, we're working with 4, and Denton, we're working with 4, and Waco ISD, because it doesn't limit you, it doesn't paint you in a corner if somebody doesn't have the A team to bring to you every time. But the way we structure is, of course, I'll be involved. I have dirty boots. This is not my normal dress because I believe it's in the field where everything happens. And that's a little extra touch that we feel like we have. But we put our project manager and our superintendent in the job trailer on your site. We don't have glass palace project managers. We feel like that the information lost between, somebody's main office and the field is time, which we understand the situation with your previous bond referendum and probably think that you're behind in time, right? For 2 elementaries, Buford Thompson had ready to go last May. So the idea is to get you in those campuses as soon as possible. But I brought along some of our guys that we might use in your district. Jesse Rodriguez is superintendent working on China Spring competition gym. Andy Snelling's finishing up $40 million at Copper Cove ISD. Dave Stewart, I'll get back to Dave in a minute, but he's currently working on the MHMR headquarters in Waco. Ricky Henry working Coolidge ISD and his fire station. We're around him and Mr. Cano. He's handling both, as project manager, handling both MHMR and China Spring ISD. And then there's Mr. Klein, which is my grumpy chief estimator. And chief estimators need to be grumpy because they need to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So that's how we staff it, and this is how it structures over the course of the job, being that there's never any gaps in transition of pre-con to construction. It's kind of a seamless effort. Okay. So, on time, on budget. This particular project is in DeSoto. I failed to mention, worked in DeSoto ISD, Duncanville ISD, Cedar Hill ISD, HB ISD, Ennis ISD, Corsicana ISD. I've got you surrounded on the map. So I've been watching you for a while again. So this is Katherine Johnson Technology Magnet Academy, which is the longest name of a school I've ever heard, but in DeSoto, and it was 126,000 square foot elementary school. which is a mega large elementary school, right? Basically the norm is 90 to 105,000 square feet. This was an August GMP. This is 90 days in. So the key to an elementary school is 90, 90, 90, 90, okay? So this is the first 90. What you want to see is you want to see verticality here, right? We're above the slab, and we're working on the last slab for it. That's getting it. That's really smoking it on a schedule. The next 90, you see roofing, right? That's the key interval on an elementary school. These elementary schools are the barometer of K-12 construction. They all have about 40 classrooms. They all have a cafeteria. They all got a gym. So that's, if you want to know cost per square foot, somebody asked about high school, they vary because they have so many different pieces to it, if that makes sense. However, most elementaries all have the same components. So what you see here is we're roofing, and then you see the sheathing going around. We're working towards getting that. That's the second 90 interval that's important. The third 90 is the building's tight. I mean, your glazing's in, your roofing's done. Lots of finishes are going in on the underside. And then you see the masonry's coming all the way around the building. Masonry is not a critical item. It can be, shouldn't be. It's because your building's watertight without it, right? And then the last 90. I like this one because it's green grass, not brown grass, right? So that actually was CO'd July 13th, Friday the 13th, as a matter of fact, which we were a little nervous about calling the CO. Friday the 13th, it was 10 months and 18 days, 126,000 square feet. And we called it the spaceship because it has some very complicated pieces. Those interior courtyards are tough. They were second floor courtyards. This is a magnet technology building, so there's robotics involved. It was quite a building. If you ever get an opportunity, I'd like to show it to you. It's got some special features. So enough about that job. Let's talk about one of your jobs. We have two plans for pre-construction because we're guessing that getting these elementaries off quickly is important to the district, because you're probably already overcrowded where you're going, right? Yes. So there's two approaches to pre-construction with a pending bond, right? We've had districts that say, don't send out invites because it sends a message to the voters that you're moving forward with the project. We don't want that optic. In this situation, we would start now or whenever you award, right? Because understand that documents are complete for Elementary 10 and the STEAM Academy. That correct?
Well, it's complete we have 10, 11 plans,
Right.
And we're coming down the road on the STEAM elementary.
Okay, so we've got limited information on how far along things are, but in this scenario, we could go ahead and advertise, put it out. Again, but you advertise it goes into Los Angeles really light, so people see it, so it may send the wrong message to voters. So, and that's pre-construction A, and then that means bond election board meetings, GMP approval, we're moving dirt right after your bond election, right? Pre-construction plan B. We wait till the bond, which is what I'll hand out here in a second. We wait till the bond, then pull the trigger on sending the advertisement out so it doesn't send the wrong message to voters. We're final GMP approval early June, which still leaves plenty of time to build one of your elementary schools, right? Next slide, in. This is what we have, and it may change, it may be different, but just from a sequencing and laydown logistics is, this is a single story building. Don't hold me to it today, but I think this could be a 10-month build. I mean, it's not too complex. But if we were really getting it, but we want to start in area A. We'll call it our area A, which is where your permanent power, all that good stuff comes in your building, so that we can get things moving along and get it under the roof quickly. But this is kind of how we would set this job up. The next one we have is, and y'all, can you help me with the name? Willamon? Wildman? Okay. Wildman Steam. This is more complex building, based on the function, I'm guessing. But you have all these overlooks that, Mr. Aldous would be able to share these with us. But we would set this up in 3 sequences. That's kind of how you order your steel. You order your steel that way, you get a flow going through the building. And when we take over aerials of your projects, hopefully, you'll see it's like an orchestra. It's a thing of beauty to watch, right? So, building for the future, that's a lot to do in 4 minutes. So, building for the future, right? It's not something we say, it's something we do. Partnership and community outreach. I've already reached out to your CTE group to see if we can get an industry partner. I mean, it's obviously easier for her here building for you. That picture there is TSTC kids that we partner with. We bring them out, and you know, that's part of your future.
10 minutes.
Yes, sir. That's part of the future of our business, so it's important to us, right? I noticed you got a construction and architecture part of your CTE program, so we want to take advantage of that, and there are kids that want to go into this business. It doesn't have the same label as it did 30 years ago, or the stereotype, so I've already reached out to Ms. Street to see if, you know, that's a possibility to partner with the district on. And then, you know, as far as community, I know where Rocket is, right? I know where the cafe is in Rocket. I know where the chicken fried steak is in Rocket. My wife makes me go to Target over here because it's the closest one to her. I was at a Suba Saturday because my boy likes the hibachi here. So I think I'm part of your community. I think my team will blend into your community. I think we'll help provide benefit for your community. And with that, I'll kick it over to Q&A for the district, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
Okay. First question?
You didn't mention, how are you dealing with supply chain?
Okay, I love it. Supply chain doesn't exist. Issues. That's our first response. Because you have to find the truth in supply chain issues. Sometimes it's an excuse, right? I've got another handout I'll share with you, kind of answer some of that. This is China Spring Elementary School. And we'll see first 92nd, 93rd, 94th, 90th. And it was built in the height of the steel crisis, the metal stud crisis. And it's another 126,000 square foot facility. And I guess wasn't quite as green, but we had water restrictions in Waco, so that kind of hurt us there.
Sorry.
But the first response is it doesn't exist. And then we push for the right answer, we push for alternatives. Here, what we did on this one, because it was a supply chain issue with steel joist and deck, I took the detailing of that on our own, right, to help speed that process up, right? So we took some risk on our part to make it happen for our district. You know, we're very good about getting our subcontracts out. The biggest issue right now is switchgear, which I'm sure you'll hear from other contractors. Switchgear is a problem, getting the boards. But if you've got 8-9 months to get it to the job site, which you will, then we should be fine. Everything's calming down. It's not gotten back to normal. Metal prices have gone back to normal a little bit. But it won't go back to the way it used to be, right? And in terms of cost per square foot and all that. And I think that was some normalizing of our market anyways. Because we held $250 a foot for an elementary school for 8 years. Well, there was regular inflation in 8 years. And, you know, the beauty of this one right here you have in front of you is it was built at $272 a square foot. The final price was $269 after the savings back to the district. DFW market is well above $300 per foot at the same time. The funny thing is, remember I said the subcontractor baseless to the south? This was primarily built with Dallas Fort Worth, with Miller Sierra, RPMX, Wellstone Construction. Those guys all come out of Dallas. It's the anomaly of the market. It was a very good price for the district. It worked for them. They got hit by the COVID year. They couldn't go. The legislature said we can't go. So that pushed them off a year. So they had the same, I think, need that the district here has. Does that answer the supply chain? I'm kind of went off on it.
What's your bonding capability on something this big?
We have 150, 350 aggregate. So, you know, we're obviously understand there's a pretty significant high school in this bond program. We have industry partners, should you want us to do it all, that we can pull it off if we need. So, Joris is committed to combo with us if the district is elected to move that direction.
What's your scope of work? You mentioned schools, obviously, but what else do you guys specialize in?
There's a private division to Built-Right, and that's banks, churches. They're on the kind of like a byboard of Texas Baptist Convention, and has to do with my partner's dedication and faith. But they do banks, they do warehouse, but education is all education. Like we do higher ed, CSTC, Baylor, South Spring, Chilton, Bosqueville. So we're pretty large in the Waco area. We got Denton ISD, but our focus on BMC Education, that's all I know. That's all I've done for 20 plus years. Cut my teeth in Richardson, we go back to Richardson ISD, and it's a relationship business. It was awful hard for me to drive down 287 to Duncanville or DeSoto and watch the high school go up. And you know, you've been identified on a map that I've drawn for over 15 years. When I was at La Vega ISD, I figured out that the key, there's always two W's on my map, and it's Waco and Waxahachie. The key to North and South K-12 construction is right here. And the growth with the hospital. The hospital kind of was the straw that kind of pushed everything over the edge, I think, for Waxahachie. And I like it. You know, everything, it's practically the River Springs now, right? Old Alligator Jacks, if you know where that is. But, you know, so the expansion, you know, and I always say this, actually was talking to a daycare, well, actually the private does a daycare, Kids Are Kids, which is high-end daycare. And one of the franchisees was in the office the other day, and he said, what about College Station? What about Waxahachie? Because I've been studying this growth for years. Your demographics is 1.7 kids per house. The demographics there, I think, from 4 years ago. I'm a nerd, I guess. I read 40 minutes, and yeah, I have nothing better to do. But, so our private division does a lot of other different type of work, but BMC Education is pure schools. Because it's different. It's different working in schools.
Do you believe our timeline is doable?
I don't know that you all published the timeline, but can you explain your timeline?
So the first stage of our phase one bond
Yes, sir.
would be by August of '24 to open a new Wildman STEAM Academy, neighborhood elementary number 10, and additions to our Hancock building, which would be a junior high.
Absolutely. I mean, it's right there in front of you. I mean, it's a year from May or 14, 15 months from May. If Waco ISD has the same issue, they call us back in on a job, Kendrick Elementary, and because they'd seen this, and they said, can you do it a little faster? And we said, sure. So they gave us 15 months. I mean, that's the same time frame. But yeah, this is the recipe to do those. The STEAM Academy is a little more complex project. I can see it in that floor plan. I don't have the whole set of drawings, but I can. When I see open to below, that usually gets kind of nice, and that's usually where I call it the Waterloo of a building. Is where things just take a minute longer than you think they will. Usually in high arching areas that are high end finish, but you know, but the number 10, yeah, that one you'll be moved in and halfway through warranty on that one. So.
How many current projects are you actively working on right now?
I'm gonna look over there if I count that way. Um, So, 1, 2, 3. He's on 13 campuses in Copper's Cove. You can count 13, 3, 15, 17, 20.
What sets you above the other ones we're gonna talk to?
I don't think you'll get an owner touching your project like you will with us. I believe in it. We're not as large as some of the other firms we probably interview, and that's fine. I can touch my projects. I get to see, this isn't the last time you see me like this unless we're at board meeting, right? But this is the last time you'll see me like this. You'll see that I'm walking to go look in my truck right now. There's better for my floor mats. And I'm proud of that. Because if it's not touched by an owner, then it's just another number. You're not just the things I know about the district having never worked here, hopefully shows a little bit of that.
Anyone else? If you've got a little bit more time, is there anything you'd like to ask us?
So there's, all right, because I'm curious, because there's limited information what we pick up and, in the bond program, what I've seen is a large high school possibly, a couple elementary schools, right? STEAM Academy, and I do the math, and I don't get to the number. So there's quite a
You've
bit
got
more.
additions to 3 junior highs.
Okay.
This-
Yeah. So there's a lot of work.
And an athletic component.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Sorry.
And there's an athletic component as well.
Yeah, I saw that in
NHS.
the stadium
That's right.
or athletics at the high school or stadium. Yeah. At the new high school. What more do you need to know about us? I mean, I will put my team, and I really want number 10. Because because at the end of the day, you don't have to award everything today. You don't have to award anything today, for that matter. You can award to multiple, right? There's nothing more than I like as a water competition. And we'll put our plan into action. And because what I know will happen as a result of 10 is something else. We're not here to do this job, we're here to do the next job. My guys will take care of the district, so yes, put us in the ring is what I'm asking. So.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we bought 2 minutes.
All right, good morning. Our next presenter will be Pogue Construction. Mr. Jackson, you gonna be the presenter?
Mr. Anderson will
Okay,
take the lead.
all right, so our superintendent, Dr. Hollingsworth, will be able to give you the timeline we're gonna be following.
Good morning. Thank y'all for being here. We appreciate y'all coming today. What we've done is we've got 25 minutes allocated, so I'll give you 13 minutes to present. I'll tell you when we're at 10. And then we'll open up the last 12 minutes for the board to ask any questions that they have, okay?
Wonderful.
Yes, sir. You're good to go?
Awesome. Good morning, members of the board, Dr. Hollingsworth, Ryan. Thank you guys for being here. We're really excited to be in front of you this morning to interview for your 2023 bond projects. You've asked us to focus our attention on how can we deliver your projects on time and how can we deliver your projects on budget. I apologize, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Gary Anderson. I'm the Vice President of Core Construction. The graphic on the screen represents how Core Construction manages all of our projects operationally. And we felt like it was a great graphic to start our presentation off because it addresses your two main concerns. How are we going to deliver your projects on time and how are we going to deliver your projects on budget, which are 2/3 of how we manage all projects operationally. So you see here in the lower left-hand corner schedule, our goal associated with schedule is that our projects are built on or ahead of schedule. Our goal on the right associated with costs is that our projects are completed within budget, no change orders. We're talking about a CM at risk, guaranteed maximum price. We're not going to put ourselves in a situation where we're coming back to the school board to ask for more money. Once we establish that GMP, it's locked in stone.
Thank you, Gary. I'm Jeff Jackson. I'll serve as your project director. What we know about your bond program, $594 million is proposed in the voters. Proposition A includes elementary number 10 to be opened in August of 24, followed with elementary number 11 in 2025. Jimmy Duran will represent the superintendent effort on that group of work. There'll be other resources available as the projects come on. Proposition B, your high school in 2027. Vince McManus will lead that effort, as well as we have a staff of over 45 superintendents, and so as projects become available, we'll bring the necessary resources along.
Talk about how we keep the projects on budget. This slide is an example of the guaranteed maximum price phase of the process. So focusing here first based on the schedule for the elementary school 10 and the STEAM. So we may jump right into the guaranteed maximum price phase of those projects. So just illustrating the trade partners quality, we have a specific quality department that's dedicated to reviewing the plans and producing constructability reviews. Obviously working with the design team, our contracts department, the client has a lot of say at this phase of the project, and then we'll talk about how we integrate as a team and introduce the project manager and the superintendent into pre-construction.
Todd Scallon, I'm the senior project manager for the bond package, I guess. This is kind of an example of what I'll do I'll be working directly with the estimating department and Stephen and his group and the site teams. We can work on logistics early on in the project, make sure we're capturing all the little nuances that go on to every unique site that we work in, as well as starting to write the scopes for the actual bidding process so that trade partners know exactly what we're looking for from them and they're bidding the things the way we want. So as soon as the project and the GMP are approved, we cut, paste, go right to contract. It makes everything faster. We secure pricing that way, saves on cost and time down the schedule.
A lot of tools in our toolbox at Core. CMAR delivery method is our expertise, and so we are typically engaged at all various levels of the pre-construction process, and so have a lot of tools in the toolbox. Have time to touch on a couple of them, so I'll ask Danielle to speak to the integration of virtual design and construction.
Yeah, I'm Danielle Williams. I'm responsible for all of our virtual construction, also known as building information modeling efforts. We'll be involved in the process from pre-construction all the way through project closeout. So what you're seeing on the screen here is a tool that we use called Assemble. We use this during the pre-construction phase to take the models that we receive from the design team and their consultants. It quantifies everything in the 3D model to help our pre-construction team double check their takeoffs and estimates. It's a great way for us to view the 3D model, share it with our field team and our trade partners as well as the client. Something else that we utilize the design models for early on is constructability reviews. We can see how all of the structure and architecture mechanical, electrical, and plumbing interface with one another very early on so that we can get ahead of constructability issues. We'll provide a high-level report like this to the design team and work through solutions with them so we can flush all of these issues out during design before we get to construction documents, saving us time and money in the construction process.
Another tool to proactively affect the budget during pre-construction are the utilization of option studies. So here's an example of one of them. So as you move through pre-construction, we have a lot of decisions to make as a team. And so these option studies are utilized out in front of the design to help provide a high level of information to all of us so that we can make informed decisions about what the large components of the building would like to be. So we've just utilized this one at McKinney Educational Center for Frisco ISD, mechanical option studies for Waco ISD at Carver Middle School. We developed a structural option study that helped the group make a decision to go to tilt wall on the building structure. We were able to keep that project on budget all the way through COVID and all the way through escalation. So this helps us make really informed decisions during construction.
You know, we have to deliver our projects on time. We're an education builder. We're the number 2 education builder in the country. It is mission critical for us to deliver on time. And I know it's important to y'all. So today's world, we're dealing with material procurement issues. I know you'll hear that from anybody you talk to. It is something you have to really have a process for dealing with. We track all of the materials that are needed in our projects and the current lead times on those projects. They're changing constantly. One of the most critical today is the switchgear component, which powers the building, and that's got a lead time of anywhere between 40 and 80 weeks, and some of these projects may not have that time. So the way we've got some strategies to approach that. I'd love to talk about that more, but we're in the process today of making commitments, ordering those components like before the bonds are passed. We're going at risk for those costs just to make sure the project's successful.
I'm Jimmy Duran, Superintendent with Court. I'll be Superintendent of the Elementary. We have produced a mock-up schedule of the project here, and we've divided it up in sections on how we feel we need to be successful as we build out this project. We also included a procurement log on tracking some of those long lead items that might be a potential risk for the project. That's including storefront material, metal paneling has become an issue now, and like Jeff mentioned, switch gears. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague here to explain how we get our trade partners involved and be successful in the project.
So, yes, good morning. I'm Vince McManus. I'm the senior superintendent. I'll be in charge leading all the high school work, the team members we have here. So 6 years ago, the way we would schedule our job sites was sitting in a trailer. Superintendent would print out a 3-week or a 4-week look ahead off of the baseline CPM baseline schedule and sit there and dictate, you're going to be working here, you're going to be working here, you better have this many people. So 2023, this is an example of what our office trailers look like today. This is utilizing the last planner system, lean construction. As you can see, you've got every trade partner, foreman, lead guy. This is my project right now, Eagle Mountain High School. Every single morning, 8 a.m. sharp. You keep it to 20 minutes. You see the boards, it has sticky notes on it. That's how you plan out your work. You take the milestones pulled off of the CPM schedule that Jimmy was talking about, you post them, you include them in your plan, and then you work right to left, right? You got a milestone, how are you going to get to that milestone? And that's how you spell it out, and this is how we keep these jobs on schedule or ahead of schedule.
This is our trailer right now. We're using the magnet system on this poor board here. One good example we have a framer here who dedicated this day in particular on Area 8 to have 3 classrooms framed out. His worry, he's working a crew of 8 people, his worry is layout. That's his constraint. There's 2 ways to track this. You can write it down on your specific sticker, or you have your magnets up there, diamond-shaped magnets also representing constraints. We were to get ahead of him, make sure he has the proper personnel and tools he needs to make sure the layout is done properly, and double check, triple check all his layouts. One good example of all this working together, we had our ceramic tile company come in 3 weeks ahead of time. We had him come in, he started writing his information on the board. His big worry when he came onto the project, are you going to be ready? We all welcomed him with open arms. We sat down with all the trade partners involved, plumbing down to CMU, concrete, everybody was involved. We had a big discussion, got our heads together. He put his date on when he wanted to start. We worked right to left. And we were able to get everything installed behind the walls, inspected, closed up, ready for him to rock and roll on the first day. And never looked back. He's been on schedule and hitting all his milestones on time.
We're at 10 minutes.
So this is a new example of new innovation we're using. It's the same thing, last planner system, but it's all digital. It's live. It can be seen from 100 miles away, a project manager sitting in his office. We get up here, we utilize touchscreen panels or your devices, but this software runs reports. In other words, it's dummy proof. The stickies up here, you can run reports on manpower, work-in areas, plan percentage completes. Actually, just 2 weeks ago, we had an opportunity with a trade partner who we ran a report on, and it showed him slipping on his commitment in some areas, but it showed him 100% PPC, plan percentage complete, per the plan. So what does that tell you? That means, Mr. Trade Partner, you need more men in this area to make your milestones. Maybe pull them from this area, or you're sandbagging when you've got 100% plan percentage complete, because it should be between 65 and 75% in reality is what data has shown us. And I can promise you, our competition does not do this.
Thank you, Vince. I'd like to leave you with why choose Core. There's 3 things I'd like for you to remember about why we believe we're the best contractor for you to partner with on the 2023 bond projects. First, we're highly experienced. Every single one of the people that are in this room in front of you today has worked with one another and has worked with one another on new school construction. We're a school builder. That's what we do for a living. We don't build high rises in downtown Dallas, we build schools, and that's what we focus on. We currently have more than $400 million worth of new school construction with BOK. We're comfortable working with them, including Eagle Mountain High School, which is the largest high school project in the state of Texas that's under construction. And Vince McManus is the senior superintendent on that project, and Jeff Jackson is that project director, and they're going to be coming here to Waxahachie ISD. We have a proven success record, 100% success in achieving the GMP. Stephen had a moment to tell you a story about achieving the GMP in Waco on 2 new middle school projects through COVID, through all the cost escalation. Both of those projects were delivered under budget, meeting their guaranteed maximum prices. And we have 100% on-time project delivery. We're school builders. Kids come back to school in August, right? They always have, they always will. It doesn't matter how much it rains. It doesn't matter what material challenges we're encountering with what the current market conditions are doing. The kids are still going to come in August. So we will get done. There's no reason why we won't get done. And lastly, we didn't have a chance to talk about this, but we're talking about a long-term commitment with Waxahachie ISD. I want to talk to you about our warranty department. Vicki Burris is our warranty manager. Our warranty department is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're going to take care of any issues that you have once we leave the campus. No matter if it's in that first year where contractually have a responsibility, or if it's 5 years down the road and you call us. If it's something that we're responsible for, we're going to pick up that phone and we're going to come down here and we're going to take care of it for you. So thank you guys for your time. We look forward to your questions.
So you're at least the 3rd company to mention switchgear, so I'm thinking I need to get some switchgear.
Partner with you, I got a plan.
But to my simple mind, why not have 2 or 3 on the shelf? Are they incredibly expensive, or are they different from project to project?
They're both.
Yeah. Okay.
Incredibly expensive, complex. They're designed to specifically meet the needs of the project itself. So it's kind of designed by the engineer.
You're right.
It has to meet the spec with whoever's supplying it.
So that goes along with kind of a bigger picture question. I mean, supply chain, is that a real thing, or is there, are you mitigating that somehow? Or I know we're probably not as bad as we were two years ago, but how are you handling the supply chain issues?
I can take the lead on that. It is the number one thing we have to focus on, believe it or not. I mean, elementary school 11 will be 54-week schedule probably. And if you look down that log, there's many items that are hovering around that 50-week period. And the way we approach that is we put a lot of resources right up front. We're processing the submittal process and getting those items checked off and approved and getting them in the system early. So we got to work as a team to be okay, exactly what we're doing with Deeper Mountain High School. But in some cases, like on the switchgear, we have to take the risk in getting, like, let's say we're successful and we go to a board here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be ordering those items now. We're going to be writing a check, getting them in the system. I mean, it's going to take us 6-7 months to get that item, and so we're not concerned about, if there's a risk to that, we'll take that risk. But those are the kind of things you have to do to be successful. And if you've got somebody that's unwilling to do that, then you're going to get a letter and say, we've been delayed, this item is caught up in the supply chain, COVID, and this or that, and they're going to be sitting on the sideline waiting for something necessary to reach your building.
Yeah, I was involved in a project with one of your competitors, and we, if you want to say we or they, did something as basic as moving and shipping containers and stockpiling things that we know we're going to need 10 months ahead, 10 months out, so.
Yes, right now at Eagle Mountain High School, 142 acres in every parking lot is full of materials that we don't need up until a year from now. We procured all those items ahead of time. We had 85% of our project bought, submittals done, approved in like 8-9 weeks.
And did I hear you correctly, all you do is schools?
We do other things, but 80% of the volume of work that we do is schools. So we are the second largest school builder in the United States, and we're headquartered in North Texas.
Other areas, do y'all mainly work in North Texas on schools, or do you work in?
Yeah, so Dallas-Fort Worth, and then we're working up and down the I-35 corridor. We talked about 2 new middle schools, $62 to $65 million that are in construction right now with Waco ISD, and then down towards Austin as well. But our geographic reach and where we're most comfortable, we've been in the North Texas market since 1990, and so this is our region. This is where we have most of our resources.
Project this size, assuming the whole package, would there be any bonding capacity issues?
No, sir.
What other schools have you done in North Texas other than Waco?
Frisco ISD, Richardson ISD, Garland ISD, Carrollton Farmers Branch, Louisville, Northwest, Eagle Mountain, Aledo, Arlington, Dallas.
Garland.
Those are all in just the last few years too.
If it helps us personally, there's a little high school right up the street in Red Oak. I did that one.
You did Red Oak?
I did Red Oak.
Okay. I've been in that one.
Do you believe our timeline that you guys have is a doable timeline?
I think your timeline for 10 and STEAM are aggressive. I believe that 10 can be built in the duration that you want for sure by August of next year. I do believe, I know you have a board meeting tomorrow morning to select a contractor. If we're selected, I do think we need to meet next week and talk about releasing a switchgear before the bond passes. That's the risk that Jeff's talking to you about, something we're doing with a couple other clients. Releasing stuff, taking small risks in order to guarantee the completion date. Not knowing the size of the STEAM, you got a 25% bigger budget on the STEAM than you do on the elementary 10. So I'm not totally understanding the building footprint and the systems that go into that STEAM program. It could be doable. We need to understand a little bit more about what type of STEAM programs are actually going into that space in order to answer that question. I think the rest of what you've planned is more than comfortable to build. It's just those kind of first 2, 10 in the STEAM. But 10 is doable for sure.
And the additions to the Hancock building as well?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the 10 and the STEAM, what caught our attention and is what we focus in terms of preparing for sure today. Those other projects, that's a normal construction schedule and wouldn't be an issue.
Do you have any issues incorporating our construction site CTE students in any of these projects?
Absolutely not. We actually love doing that. We've got a middle school project we're finishing in Northwest ISD. It's actually Jimmy's project, substantial completion in 4 weeks. We have 2 CTE high school students that come to our project site on a weekly basis. And so As many of you know, our industry, our field supervision staff is something that is, there's not enough resources in the Metroplex for them on long term, and so we're really connected to our clients and connected to building better connections with CT programs, long term, trying to grow future employees.
At Eagle Mountain, they have an electrical apprentice type program, and they're planning to come out to the job, and our electrician's going to speak to them and show them his trade and how he does it. And so, yeah, you have to embrace that in today's world. You got to be thinking about the future.
Yeah, Waco does a whole student engagement on a monthly basis, so.
Any other questions? You guys have anything for us? Any questions for us?
No, sir. We're ready for
Anything you didn't have time, you pretty much concluded.
I've got one thing. Believe it or not, Waxahachie is the reason I moved to Texas in the mid-90s. I planted roots right here in Waxahachie. If anyone in here remembers the Super Collider project. I moved all the way from Kentucky with the general contractor of that proposed project that never happened. And actually, my mother still is a resident right here in Waxahachie on College Street. So I got a long history with Waxahachie, Red Oak area, and Ellis County. So.
Yeah, the supervisor came in and took my house.
Oh.
So, I
Way
don't have good feelings.
to put it on a sour note.
They took my house too in Kentucky.
I just want to say 3 of you gentlemen on the far ends have the nicest haircuts we've seen all day.
I noticed yours back there too, I like the shine.
They make us spread out, and you have a meeting, we can't get together.
Yeah, started noticing sides of the room getting brighter if the 3 of us are together.
Completely understand.
I think the only other thing that I'd like to add is, obviously with specifically elementary school 10, I know the drawings are done. If you guys describe, you already have those things. I do believe we need to hit the ground running. I know you have a board meeting tomorrow. We're prepared to mobilize on Monday morning if that's what it takes, or tomorrow afternoon if that's what it takes, to have a GMP prepared. I know you have a board meeting on May 8th. Let's obviously hope we're all successful on May 6th, Saturday, and we could be in a position to have a GMP prepared and hit the ground running. Obviously, some coordination necessary with the city, making sure we've got building permits or at least some grading permits to get started, but we're ready to go. We have resources available, and we're really excited about it. And we're very intentional about the clients we pursue. We're not just trying to work for every school district in Texas. We want to make sure we balance the resources that we have and make sure we're putting everybody in a position to be successful. So we're very intentional about pursuing your work here with the specific bond.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll talk later about our switching business.
I want these things.
hitting the street.
Does everyone have a placemat? Does everyone have a placemat?
It looks that way.
Wonder what Mama did today.
We're just waiting on one more.
No worries.
Brendan may be there with his kids today.
That's where he wants to go.
That's fine. If not, we'll have to wait till Saturday.
Debbie, are you?
I got two.
Yes.
I just got to verify
I am too.
where the guy wants
So
to
I'll
see
get
it.
you for
I'm
sure.
probably prepared. If he doesn't have somebody already. I still have Ray.
Ray called Lucas Hernandez. is on it. Did Lucas make it?
He won his class.
Lucas did?
Yes.
All right. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Going around.
What about,
Was Miss Chris?
kid that's next door?
I think we're on day 6.
I'm so sorry, I can't think right.
What time's Fred doing today?
He's there.
What time? That's when it starts. She in the first loop? Is she?
Thanks. That's the way it feels.
So our next presenter.
Shiner Westmore.
I don't know. Is going to be Pogue Construction. Dr. Hollingsworth here will explain to you our time constraints and how we'll move forward with the time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Thank you all very much for being here. We appreciate y'all coming and presenting to us. What I'll do is you'll have 13 minutes. When you're at 10, I'll let you know. And then after that, the last 12 minutes we'll set aside for the trustees to be able to ask any questions they have for y'all, okay?
Correct.
Thank you. You're good to go.
Okay, thank you for having us here today. We're going to start with just a quick video, a little summary about Pogue Construction. Maybe. I'm Sam Adams. I've been with Pogue Construction for 25 years now. Actually, June 1st will be my anniversary of 25 years. The best way I can explain who Pogue Construction is we're a relational contractor, not a transitional contractor. What I mean by that is we don't want to come to Waxahachie just to build one school. We want to build a relationship with you. We want to be part of your community. Our mission statement, go back one slide real quick, is to be the most people-focused community builder. Now, we came prepared today with a large team. We can sole source your entire bond. We have that capability. Now, we're going to be gracious. We'd love to accept an elementary school or anything you'd have us build, but we want you to know we're capable of sole sourcing your entire bond. 94% of our current clients are repeat clients, and that just tells you again that we're a relational contractor. If we get to work for you, you want us to come back and work for you again. We're the third largest education builder in Texas and Louisiana. Recently, we've been ranked the 5th largest general contractor in North Texas. Now, what does that mean to Waxahachie ISD? It means we cast a large net into the marketplace with the trade partners out there. We also want to bring in your local trade partners. We know the guys at Circle H. We know the guys at Americase. We know they're local for you and part of your community. We work with those folks already, and we want to be a partner with you. Community involvement's really big for us. This is actually a picture of your Ellis County Wild Game Dinner. Mark Donahoe with us today doesn't let me get out of an opportunity to sponsor this every year, and you can see our little banner back there in the back. And a couple of years ago, Dr. Gene Burton and I came down and attended this and got an opportunity to meet a few of you there, and really neat event that you all in Ellis County put on for your kids and the 4-H and FFA folks. And if given the opportunity, we want to partner with you again. Just so you know, we're going to be bringing a check down Saturday for that sale and going to be prepared to buy a pig or whatever we can be a part of. We're excited to have that opportunity. Education foundations giving back to the kids are important to us. We've already partnered with Mr. Sanchez, and we've teamed him up with the folks at Northwest ISD. And the reason why we've done that, we've worked at Northwest for a number of years, and they do an amazing job with their gala, and we just wanted Mr. Sanchez to see how to set up a gala and how to raise the most money. So we want to be a partner. Over the last 5 years, we've given back over $1 million to education foundations, and we want to be a part of it. And I'll close my part by telling you, I would love to partner, especially with your high school teachers and students in your STEAM Academy. If I can come down and teach a class and teach maybe a young man or young lady a little bit about the construction industry and maybe brighten their horizons about what we do every day, I have a passion for doing that. I'd love to be a part of it. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Pre-Construction, Landon Kids, to tell you a little bit about pre-con. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. I'm Landon Kids. I'm our Director of Pre-Construction. I've been with Pogue for 10 years. Pre-construction is hard to sum up, and as quick as I've got to tell you, I'd love to give you a big, long presentation about what we do in pre-con, but I just want you to know we use the analogy of pre-con being a 4x400 relay. You can't win the race if you don't get off to a good start. And so we treat all our projects this way. The only way for us to be successful is to tee it up successfully from the very beginning. What I want you to know about pre-construction is it's a very collaborative process. You see a lot of faces on this screen, but the two most important guys are Brad Henderson, our project executive, who you'll hear from in just a minute, as well as Mark Donahoe. Those guys are going to be your main points of contact throughout this project, and they're going to be extremely involved in the front end on the pre-construction. Any decisions that we make, they're going to be involved. We want their buy-in, and that just tees them up to be successful. We start pre-construction with the beginning in mind. So as soon as you guys award this project to us, if we're fortunate enough to be the selection, we're going to start with the end in mind. We want to know when you want to move into this building, and then we work backwards from that point. And we're going to establish a milestone schedule and create a roadmap to get us there. This is a roadmap for your proposed elementary school. These are just, I don't expect you to read all the dates on this screen, but this is just one example of what we would produce at for every project that you have. This is the roadmap for how to get there. Really what we want to get across today is we're ready to roll up our sleeves and get to work and figure out how to get you guys in these schools that you need to open next year. It needs to happen quickly, and we're ready to get to work. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to our project executive, Brad Henderson. Thank you.
As Landon mentioned, I'm Brad Henderson, and I would serve as project executive for the district on these projects. And so I would be a consistent face and a consistent communication throughout the project. Working with Landon early on, as we know when we're in the pre-construction phase, as Landon said, the budget is so important, and we've got to start it right. We've got to get the job in the budget. So I'm going to work with our team to make sure we're working get the job in budget, working with our trade partners and the architect, but then also transitioning to our construction. I would be a consistent face you would see throughout all projects. And what that does for the district is it gives continuity. It makes sure that no information is lost as we transition through each phase of the project. We've got multiple project management teams who are showing up here, and more than anything, what we want you to see is we have the resources to tackle whichever projects that y'all would choose Pogue for. Whether it's the elementary school, the STEAM Academy, the high school, or as Sam mentioned all of them, we can provide the resources and the expertise. We've got project management teams who are seasoned and experienced at delivering schools on time and under budget. And that's what we proposed here, because we know that's the key. Students are coming in August, and we've got to get them in, we've got to get in on budget. But these guys, just our seasoned project management team, just doesn't do administrative duties. Their most important responsibility is supporting our superintendent. That's the boots on the ground, and Mark Donahoe is going to lead that for Pogue Construction. He's the guy that's going to make sure we get the project done. He's the guy that's here when the gate opens and when the gate closes. He's going to make sure we get the job done safe, with the quality you expect, and also that the students are coming in August and we're ready for them. And so Mark is very committed to Ellis County. He's a resident down here. He's passionate about this area, so that's part of the excitement, is having someone who's so engaged and so passionate about this area leading the charge on our projects. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roby Bledsoe, who's going to talk some about the technology we use on our construction projects.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brad. So as Brad said, I'm Roby Bledsoe. I'm our Vice President of Project Management and Pre-Construction. I do want to talk about some of our technology initiatives that we have as a company. We are utilizing virtual design and construction, or VDC, really on all of our projects across the board. And we're going to do that in a number of ways. But we're going to, at the very beginning in pre-con, we're going to jump in and do all of our constructability reviews in the virtual world. And the idea there is that we are finding all the issues that we may have from a design standpoint early on in the project, so that when we get to construction, we're minimizing RFIs that may come on the back end. In addition to that, once we're in construction, what you're going to see from us is detailed clash detection. We're going to work with all of our trade partners, bringing them all in and integrating all of your facility prior to getting to construction. And again, the goal there is that we are identifying as many issues as we can on the front end. So really for us, our VDC department is part of the entire process. We want to bring them in early to make sure that we're giving you as high a quality of a product as we can. Another resource that we're going to use is a software called Drone Deploy. And really for us, this is a communication tool. So you at Waxahachie ISD, you're not always going to be able to go visit the job site. There's board members, I'm sure, that are going to be interested in what's going on out there, but can't necessarily get to the job site to walk it and see it on a weekly basis. So what we're going to do is utilize Drone Deploy, which does a couple of things. It's aerial photography that we'll do on a weekly basis. But in addition to that, we're going to have a project engineer that walks your site every single week.
You're 10 minutes.
Taking 360-degree photos as he walks. What you see is a roadmap down there of what this specific project was. And it does two things, really. It gives you access to what's going on the site. You'll have full access to a link with this documentation. And it's also an as-built-in tool. So if your maintenance department has a question years down the road of what was in a specific wall while that was under construction, you can always go back to this documentation and see what's inside those walls from a mechanical and electrical plumbing standpoint. Okay, core values. For us, one of our biggest things as a company is aligning culturally in the districts in which we work. And part of what we've done is we've taken a look at our core values and see how they align with that of Waxahachie ISD. For us, our core values are God first, family, absolute integrity, service, and communication. I'll tell you that God first piece for us is huge. That's a huge part of what we do as an organization. Every decision that we make as a company goes through that God first mentality. And really just looking at all of these core values, I do feel like there's a lot of alignment between Waxahachie ISD and Pogue Construction. And that's important. When you're entering into this big of a decision as a district with these kind of dollars, you need to have an alignment because we're going to be working together for a long time. So this is imperative. Okay, 3 difference makers that I'm going to wrap up with today. The first of which is early and honest communication. Again, going back to this seam-at-risk process, it's paramount to everything that we do for early and honest communication. You're going to see our teams being very straight up with you in any decision that's made. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. If there's bad news, we're going to tell you about it. Stewardship for Waxahachie. So stewardship is really twofold. With these kind of dollars, financial stewardship is paramount. This team has done this all over the DFW Metroplex. They are experienced. But really, stewardship is bigger than that. Stewardship is stewardship of your bond as a whole. And we do that all over DFW, really all over the state right now in the K through 12 world. And the last difference maker I'm going to leave you with is that 100%. Pogue Construction has been in business for 44 years. We have built a ton of K through 12 schools over those 44 years. And I'll tell you, that 100% stands for how many kids that we've gotten in their seats on time on every project that we've completed. We have never failed to get kids in the seat. Our team has that mentality. They have the mentality of building K through 12 schools because we know that no matter what happens on that job, those kids have to get in those seats today. So with that, I'm going to conclude us, and we'll hand it over to y'all for any Q&A.
I've got a comment, I guess, first. I like the fact that y'all are relational and involved in the community and local contractors and whatnot on the jobs. Can you give a comparison? You said you have to get sole source for the whole bond. Other bonds out there like this size.
Sure, there's multiple examples currently in community ISD. If you know where that's at, that's in the North Texas area, kind of Lake Lavon area between Princeton and Farmersville. We're currently building, I think, the 4th project in a row for them. They just awarded us their entire bond that they passed this past election period at $600 million. Prosper, we've been in Prosper ISD for well over 20 years, not another contractor's worked there. Princeton ISD, 25 years, sole source, not another contractor's worked there. I can keep going, but there are a number of school districts where we have a very great relationship with, and they trust us with everything they have.
And y'all do multiple at one time?
Multiple at one time, yes, sir. Today in Princeton ISD, we're starting dirt work on 2 elementary schools and in addition to their 9th grade, 10th grade center. At the same time, so we have 3 teams there as well. We've got a 4th team finishing a middle school right now that they're moving furniture. We really have 4 projects going there right now. And Prosper is 4 projects currently, only 6 projects, thank you. There's a lot going there. And community has 3 projects right now on the ground building.
Given the scope of our entire project, bonding capacity wouldn't be an issue?
Oh, no, sir, not at all. We're over $1 billion in total bonding capacity, so we have no issues at all.
What's the closest location to Waxahachie that y'all built one recently? If somebody just wanted to drive
So
by
Mark-
and glare at it.
Midlothian would be probably closest to you guys.
Which facility?
Midlothian.
What?
Middle school.
Middle school, the field house at the old high school.
Mark's actually currently wrapping up Thornton Elementary School down in Arlington ISD right now, currently. So actually the timing is perfect for him as he wraps that one up to come up here, and we're going to be ready to go as soon as y'all pass this bond on May 6th. Be ready to go.
So given our timeline, it's doable to reach the completion date that we need?
On the elementary school, if you're referring to that, yes, sir, without a doubt. We are 100% confident that we're going to roll up our sleeves May the 7th and be ready to go. We'll get the kids in that school without a doubt.
So our ideal timeline would be August 24 for neighborhood elementary number 10, Lyman STEM Academy, in additions to Hancock, which will become a junior high school.
So the elementary school and the additions, I'm confident completely in. The STEM Academy, not knowing the full complexity scope of work, I think I saw an 800 student capacity. To me, that sounds like 120,000 square feet roughly. What's different about a STEM Academy in my experience versus an elementary school is that there are labs that require a lot more electrical rough in, so it's a little more time involved there. I'm confident we can get it done. Now, there's some things we're going to want to do with you quickly on that one to maybe early release things. Now, we may have to take on a little risk for you prior to that bond going to maybe get a switchgear ordered or something like that. That's the biggest thing in the marketplace, if you didn't know that, is that a switchgear. That's the biggest thing in the room. I'm not making excuses. It's huge. We actually have a temporary switchgear on. We use it. We just pulled it out of a school. We'll get those kids in those seats, and that's what we do. In those communities like Prosper, for an example, they're a fast growth school. It seems like at least every year, if not every other year, that they call us and go, oh my goodness, we got our demographic report back and we've got 1,000 more kids than we thought. Can you build an elementary school in 11 months? And we do it because they're partners of ours. And so there's a way to do it. Okay, if we just stay traditionally set and don't get outside of our box of thinking, it's going to be hard to do. But that's what we're pros at, getting out of the box, working with you to figure out how to get material for these, how to get kids in a seat. We can do it. And as Roby said, 44 years in business, not one kid has failed to sit in a seat the first day of school.
Anyone else? We might take you up on that offer and come teach a CTE class.
I would love to do it. I would love to do it. And I promise you, you're not the only ones I preach that to, because, you know, I've been around the business a long time. I've got a 17-year-old senior that takes auto tech, takes HVAC classes in the local community we're in up in Melissa, Texas, and I have a passion for it. And I believe I can pass something on to a young man or a young lady that wanted to just know more about what we do every day. And hey, how can I be a project manager one day?
You guys have any questions for us?
I would ask, what's your timeline on notifying? Because we're eager to go to work on it and roll up our sleeves, and so we just want to know what's your process from here.
We plan to make a selection tomorrow morning officially, so we're going to have another meeting in the morning to go ahead and make that selection.
Great. Well, Mark's our guy here, but we listed several others. Dan Covington couldn't be with us today. He's actually, his wife's having some health issues, needed to be at the doctor with her, but we've got fantastic teams that can build your $200+ million high schools. We can build your elementary schools. We cut our teeth on small additions to junior highs and middle schools, okay? This is what we do. There's nothing too big, nothing too small. We have the bonding capacity to sole source for you, and we would love to do it. Thank you for having us here today.
Thank you.
I appreciate making the slideshow. I just don't know that Doug Duck Goose is the picture that I wanted on the slide.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Most fun thing I did that day, though, I know that. Thank you.
You want to explain kind of the
Yes, sir.
debrief? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Dr. Hollingsworth's going to explain kind of how we're going to move forward on a little bit of a debriefing process on that, all the presentations we've heard.
So what y'all have is the information here. Obviously, you know, we've seen the presentations. We want to just give y'all an opportunity to talk about how you felt about what you saw. And so we'll just debrief, and then after that, Ryan's going to bring in a sheet. And on that sheet, he'll show you how we scored the paper that was turned in. So they turned in paper applications. We'll show you how we rated them so far. Y'all will have an opportunity then to add a score of your own from 1 to 20. And so because you got 20 points as a board to award for the interview. So you can award from 1 to 20. We'll take those and average them together, and then we'll have we'll be able to determine a number 1 or number 2, etc. Does that make sense? So it's just debrief time now.
Questions, comment? I mean, no particular order, just fire away.
And I know it's a possibility, but from something one of the gentlemen said, we don't have to give it all to one person. We could choose 2, we could choose 3 if we wanted to.
In this process, Ryan, and you can clarify, the way that we wrote it up, we're selecting 1. But that does not mean you're selecting 1 for all of the projects. We can come back in, for example, we could come back in with another RFQ process between now and May. And like if we kind of have a conversation today, say, man, it's neck and neck between 1 and 2. That's hypothetical. We'd really like to have 2 do some of the work. We can set up a more streamlined RFP process because we've already interviewed the major candidates, and then we can come back in May and add in a second one. But today we've said we're selecting 1, but to answer your question, we can give them all or we can give them 1 school.
But today, we couldn't say, we're going to give this one this and this one this, because we've already said we're just going to do 1.
It's my understanding that the ones that presented today, they have the ability to get up to the 3 elementary schools and...
They can get up to 3 projects.
Okay, 3 projects.
We've promised them up to 3.
Okay.
That's renovations to Hancock, Wildman, and elementary Hancock.
Okay.
And so it's at the pleasure of the board as to whether you award all 3 to 1 or 1 contractor today, and we repost and say there will be multiple contractors for these jobs, and then you can go back in and go, okay, well, we want to do this one to this job and this one to this job, and from that.
Okay, so my question is, could we wait and see how they do on the elementaries, you know, how it's going along, and then post for the high school, or not?
You absolutely can. The awarding of the high school is not really a consideration at this point because it is another year away. I would strongly caution you against waiting and not making any decision at this point. Because as one of the groups was talking about, to get in right now and start talking with the architect about feasibility of some of the design elements and costing, like getting a real cost GMP to go, so that we can pull the trigger in May after the election and actually start doing these projects. That's the real urgency at this point, is to get that contractor on board so that they're familiar with the project, they're ready to go in May so that we can open these in August of 24.
Okay, I just wondered if we could see how they're doing, but
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can't.
Yep.
Ryan, just to clarify, we did post this as we will select 1 today, correct? Yeah.
Or
about today, tomorrow.
We will select 1 from this process, yes.
And guarantee them up to 3 projects.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to have to do this in some way, shape, or form for the other projects, no matter what anyway.
So we're just dealing with Proposition 8.
No.
You're dealing with a part of Proposition 8.
Just part
of that.
Okay.
What about Proposition D?
It's not
Have
here.
not started that yet.
It's not here.
Go
But
ahead, sorry.
no, you can, the RFQ process, and we were having a conversation with Lee, we can streamline it also, because you know more now. and these are the main players. These are the ones that are gonna bring, propositions anyways.
We stuck to A intentionally because it's the time critical at this point,
Right.
having seats for students. Proposition D, at least in talking with the architect, is not as time critical. We still believe we can get that opened within a year, even if that's not moving on May 7th.
Okay.
But getting these elementary 10 and Wildman and the renovations to Hancock, those have to get started really
Okay.
quick.
So I know the numbers are more than arbitrary, but have they given you any feedback about our numbers and are they realistic? I know until they get into really that more of an analysis of the projects and give us a GMP, but do they think our numbers are fairly accurate?
I'm not gonna be dense on this one, but I'm assuming when you say they, you're meaning the construction contractors? I have not had that conversation with any at this point.
Because
So the architect
I've had that concern since day one. We came up with a 594 number.
Yes, sir.
But how do the actual contractors feel about our numbers?
So that'll be a really good question that we'll start having once we determine, or once the board determines at least a contractor to go with. We'll start having that conversation about the feasibility, not only from a time, but also budget-wise for these projects. The way we got there is the architect polled 3 construction contractors that may or may not have been in any of these respondents and said, hey, give me your average cost per square foot. And they took those 3, they averaged them together, and then he added inflation of, I want to say, 1.25 per month to estimated bid time and construction time. So there should be some leeway in those numbers for cost constraints and inflation that has been going on. But that's our big concern right now is, hey, we need to make sure these numbers are good. And that's where we need to get a contract.
Let me rephrase then. So they've had, it's obviously public knowledge. They've had, if they're worth their salt, they've seen the numbers and they looked at the numbers. You haven't had any negative feedback from any of them saying that's not realistic?
I've not had any positive or negative feedback from any of the contractors about our pricing at this point.
John, I would tell you, our conversation with Jonathan with BOK has been that he was a little more liberal about, adding more inflation than what, what we're seeing right now.
And I tell you why I'm asking, because the company today that I have experience with, they came back at 30% over. And you're talking about a sticker shock.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to have that same conversation again. But I know it's a moving target too, I understand that.
I think they touched on that a little bit, that no one was prepared for that because of when that bidding process went out and then when, what hit the fan, now they're prepared for that.
Post-COVID supply chain shortage wasn't foreseeable nationwide.
And my second question is, in the interim between tomorrow and if the bond election, the date of the bond election, are they on our payroll or are they going on a whim thinking, are they paying for their own resources to gear up for that? Are we paying them in the interim?
There will be a pre-construction fee, yes, that we will be, on the hook for, in accordance with, state law. We're not allowed to get services for free. There has to be some fee with it. So there will be a fee. One of them, I believe, detailed it out in their response. It's 0.05% of a GMP. At this point, there's no GMP set, so I'm not exactly sure how we're going to figure that out. But that's, yes, to answer your question, there is a pre-construction fee.
We're talking about a month, right?
There's not much time.
You're talking about, yes, sir,
5
roughly
weeks.
a month.
What would you guess that number would be?
If I had to guess, I'd probably, shoot 100,000 or less. But that's just off the cuff.
And just because you approve it tomorrow doesn't mean there's a contract in place tomorrow. That means you've approved, and then we start working on
Doesn't
getting the
mean the
contract.
clock starts ticking.
One that's a little bit greater concern is, they were talking about supply chains and especially the electric switches. if we're gonna pre-order something like that, that, you know, a couple of them said they're gonna take on that risk, and that's fantastic, but there may be a conversation on the back end if we're really gonna pre-let some of these contracts before we have approval of a bond, that there may be some risk that we, the district, are also gonna be incurring in that.
I'm a little skeptical with all of them when they tell you they can 100% do it right now. I'm just gonna say that right now. I think they all have good intentions of it, and I think there's a good chance they can pull it off. But some of this stuff's gonna be out of their control, and if you're sitting in this board room right now, we need to wrap our minds around that. We need to push them to it and hold them to it. But you're also gonna have to be realistic. Because I've had to fight some of that on some stuff this year that I thought I was in complete control of, and it didn't work out that way when we got them.
There's gotta be some kind of penalty clause in there.
Okay.
I mean, a reasonable one.
Absolutely.
And and I think it's not reasonable too if it is. Sometimes, I think our agri-science building was a prime example of that when we had in writing from Encore where our power is gonna come from. When we get to the very end of that project and, you know, we have a contractor that submits us a $30,000 change order, it wasn't his fault. They had it in writing. We still had to, you know, we had to do our due diligence, but these projects are gonna be a lot bigger than that. Luckily, that contractor had that in writing, so we knew that they weren't blowing smoke, but it's a real issue.
I'd say probably.
Along that line, is there any vetting process that's gone through with the schools they're building? How they're doing?
Honestly, to answer your question, no, not at this point. These responses were due on Monday, and so that really hasn't been a lot of extra time to go and do that. If that's pleasure of the board, we absolutely can and will be calling and doing some of our homework on that end. But in lieu of strict references on this one, we use the board interview instead. That way you would have some input instead of just calling references.
I can assure you, I'm gonna make some phone calls today.
Right, that's what,
Only one of them has done recent work for us, if I'm remembering correctly. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
That's BTC.
Right. They pulled that off without a hitch.
And they had mini curb all thrown out.
We had a good amount. It was not an ideal site layout. We had a good amount of rain that spring as we were working on it.
yeah, and I did reach out to Michael Craig, and he said that he absolutely would recommend that.
Who was that?
Craig.
No, BTC.
BTC.
If you remember the last time we interviewed them, they brought like the whole team.
Yes.
It says a lot about them too, if you look at their background information. A lot of their higher level people have been with them for 20+ years. That says a lot, especially in the construction business. They have some new people too, but a lot of them have been there since early 2000s and late 90s. But should we be concerned that they didn't submit the first time?
I was a little disappointed in our first one. They had no idea what our even timeline was. I mean,
Yeah, that's public information. If I'm gonna make a presentation like that, I'm a dummy and I can work the internet that well.
I was a little disappointed in that answer.
Well, you saw that on Coors. They had gone in there and they had looked at our presentation, which is all online, and they knew exactly what our.
Pretty much all of them knew our
Yeah.
timeline except the first one.
Can I go ahead and say the third one? I don't know, I just felt kind of like, it was kind of like
Not the greatest presentation. Is that the
we-
good way to put it?
Yeah, it was kind of like we owe them the work, and we've done everything around here, so you owe it to us. I don't know, I just didn't get a one presentation.
I didn't either, but I wanted to ask David how working with them was. I'm sorry, Dr. Aber.
Sorry, I can tell you my experience with Jason Crutcher. He was the project manager.
Dave, come over here, please, so they can see on
I'm
my
sorry.
First time I've ever done that.
So my experience with Jason Crutcher, he wasn't working for Built Right at the time. He was working for Charter Builds, which I believe has been purchased by another company. I'm not sure who. But our project was
At the time, don't laugh at the numbers, but it was a $42 million addition to Ennis High School, which basically doubled its size, and the same amount of project next door, which was Ennis Junior High, which was dirt up. There was nothing there at that time, brand new building, while at the same time renovating our campus. So we had 3 hallways that got gutted and renovated over the summer so that we could then occupy them next fall. And then they did the same thing on the other side. That included 4 restrooms had to be taken down the studs. So I mean, I worked with that gentleman. It's been a long time because that building was started in 2007 and completed in 2009. But anyway, my experience with Jason is that he's on site. He's got his hands on everything. So that's my experience with him.
Okay,
He did
thank
say,
you.
he did say that, yeah.
So, I'm gonna go back to your comments you made earlier, and I'm gonna kinda ask everyone if they wanna answer this or not. Is there anybody else that feels the same way Debbie does, of possibly splitting it up moving forward, so we?
I 100% feel that way just because I don't like all my eggs in one basket. I've been burned too many times.
Well, one thing about BTC, I don't know, they just don't seem as, I'm gonna use the word international, as wide scope. And I'm wondering if splitting it up would be, better for them. I mean, did y'all feel like that they, the others were like, statewide and kind of,
Got office in El
with
Paso.
that BTC.
Texarkana to El Paso.
Yeah, but multiple, I didn't get the impression of multiple projects as much as I did on the others, but.
I think 3 or 4 of the 5 are very multiple.
I think if you split it up, you're less likely to get value pricing,
That's true.
value engineering. I mean, that's 2 different things, but I think if you split it up, you're not gonna get your bang for your buck.
What you can do is if you go ahead and make your selection, they can get rolling on those first 3 time critical projects. And then you've got the time to come back in and in a subsequent board meeting, add another.
That's probably the way to do it.
Normally, I would agree with that statement, but theoretically, 2 of your projects are gonna be completed before your third one, large one, high school, really gets started.
Okay, I think, I might have misunderstood, but we're guaranteeing the first 3 to one entity, right?
Guaranteeing up to those 3 projects.
When I say split it up, I mean like, what
Okay.
they were promised now,
Gotcha.
and then anything after that,
I thought you
possibly
meant splitting
consider
up the
another.
first 3.
No.
Okay.
First
That's where I
grade,
meant to
elementary,
clarify.
Wyman, and Hancock.
Yes, ma'am. Elementary 10, Wyoming, and Hancock renovations.
Other thing too, remember, we're gonna bring y'all a recommendation for a construction management firm. And those construction management firms are very comfortable and used to working with multiple contractors. So that'll be something that if we bring y'all a recommendation in April, for example, that construction management firm can also guide us and say, here's what we recommend you do. We know you've got, this particular contractor, do this, and they can give us recommendations about that.
Do you have any staff that's had experience or wants to speak up or that has had any experience with any of these groups?
Steven, did you work with
I'm
Super
with BTC because I did Simpson, and I've handled all the warranty issues with BTC on Simpson. Not had a problem with them getting here, following up for any issues they may have had. I do know there was some subs that were used on that job that we don't want ever back in Tehachapi. And I understand from what BTC has said in some conversations that they don't want them back either. So they learned a little bit on some of them. Unfortunately, we were the guinea pig. On all the rest of them, I haven't had any dealings with any of them. I mean, I know some of our subcontractors that have done some things for us, have had some dealings with some of those, and speak highly to a couple of those.
I've known Sammy Martin with Buford Thompson for over 20 years, and I just know they've done it a long time. They know what they're doing. When he wasn't blowing smoke, when he was talking about their level of experience with schools. The other thing too, I'll tell you, and not personally working with them, Core in Eagle Mountain, Saginaw, where they're doing a lot of work. Eagle Mountain, Saginaw looks a lot like us, like we're gonna look for the next 10, 15 years plus.
You touched on that. I thought the same thing about Pogue. Community ISD, Prosper.
No doubt.
I mean, that's our footprint. They're just to the north.
Core, Pogue, I think both check that box, yes, sir. I know the people in Eagle Mountain, Saginaw personally, so.
And evidently VLK works with the Corps very.
They're gonna work with all of them.
I'll tell you one thing that I was impressed with also is most of them said they'd have multiple superintendents doing it. And you're gonna need a Waxahachie superintendent and then an on-site for each one of them, and I think that's a big deal. I think that, I know 2 or 3 have mentioned that they'll have one on each side. Instead of you're over all of them.
Do you want us to bring these back tomorrow, or
No, we'll collect them here in just a second.
maybe there's a conflict in that?
All right, so not to interrupt debrief, y'all are more than welcome to keep continuing, but wanted to show you kind of where staff had, rephrase, where I had them, because I can't blame staff, I did it. And so you'll see the various points that we published in the RFP. There is a board interview column that currently is blank. We did have one respondent who withdrew from this, so they did get a 0 for the board interview piece. But board, it is completely up to you and your discretion how you want to award points on this. You can award up to 20 points for each one of the contractors. And what we'll do is you can each award your points for the 5 that you heard from today. We will average them together and give you an updated sheet tomorrow morning before you make your decision. To be fair, we will only include Mr. McCutcheon's ranking on the one that he heard, and so that one will be by 8, and the rest will be by 7. So just, we'll go at it that way. You don't have to do that right this minute. I don't mean to interrupt the debrief, but just wanted you, as you're talking about it, to know that that's our next step that we'll go through, and we will have that updated for you again in the morning.
But you need a score on that one, and you're wanting a score of 1 to 20.
Yes,
to be
sir.
able to-
And you can do, you know, you can go 20, you can go 20, 19, 18, 17 if you want. You can, if there's a clear gap between 1 and 2 for you, you can go 20 and then 15. If you want to go 20, 19.9, 19.8, 19.7, you're welcome to do that too. It's your ranking, your scoring, you do it however you want to
So
do
I'm
it.
scoring 1 to 20 on here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
For each one.
Right, for each one of the 5 you heard from. One being the lowest, 20 being the highest. Yes, sir. Good clarification. And no, you can't give 21.
But there are components on your scale where somebody can achieve all, I mean, you could have multiple achieving high marks, the highest marks.
Yeah, if in your mind they are all equivalent, you can give them all a 20, and that's fine as well.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm gonna call some contacts in those districts, yeah.
They don't know, and I do have contact on that board. Which one, Pogue?
Was what, Kim?
Pogue report was issued about.
That's cool.
Does she have a problem with her?
Just
I see a nap in there.
Fifth condition is part of the problem, because then I can't go to sleep.
No, ma'am. They're not necessarily putting in where they're putting it.
I guess no.
Originally, it was alphabetical order to that level. The one that so hiring can be between 70, 80.
So in the morning, we'll just bring it all completed form and we can go from there.
Anybody have anything else? If not, I'm gonna adjourn this. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McCutcheon, second by Ms. Sarnator. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Schofield, step out of the room.
Thank you, Board.
Thank y'all.
Are we leaving stuff here?
Yes, sir.